US lawmakers reach a bipartisan debt ceiling deal after a month of high-stakes talks. President Joe Biden says the compromise to raise the debt limit for 2 years will prevent a catastrophic default. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy says the deal is good for the economy. Stocks surge on Wall Street on Friday as the Nasdaq gains for the fifth straight week. Asian markets rally on an agreement to raise the debt ceiling in the US. The SGX Nifty too is signaling a higher start for the Indian market. Oil surges after US reaches a tentative debt ceiling deal. Brent trades above $77 a barrel. ONGC reports a loss of around 250 crore rupees, led by a one-time loss of 9,235 crore rupees to provide for tax disputes, while BHEL too posts an operationally weak quarter. ICICI Bank to raise stake in listed arm ICICI Lombard to over 50% before September, reversing its plan to pare its holding in the insurer. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurates the new parliament building amid a large-scale boycott by opposition parties. Modi hails the rise of a self-reliant India, says the inauguration is among dates that become indelible signatures of history on the forehead of time. Good morning in the Mumbai News Center. I'm Sonal Bhutra. You're watching Power Breakfast. It's a fresh new week, Monday morning, a lot of cues to catch up on. And of course, the biggest one is what we got in the US markets. So let's talk about global markets. And first up, about the Asian markets, because they are higher in trade after a strong handover from Wall Street and some tentative agreements that we got on the debt ceiling as far as the US economy is concerned as well. And that's the reason most of the Asian markets are higher in trade today. The Taiwanese index is up around 112 points. We have Hang Seng, which is higher, which is actually lower right now, but the cuts are not as massive. Apart from that, across the Asian screen, there is green. Nikkei is up around 1.3%. You have something like a Straits Times, which is high by 0.4%. Shanghai is higher by 0.4%. So that positive rub-off is something that we are seeing in the Asian markets as well. SGX Nifty, that'll come up for you on the screen, and that one is indicating that the start for our own markets, a massive gap up is what SGX Nifty is indicating after the stellar rally that we saw in Friday's trading session. Let's see whether we continue that momentum or not. 160 points higher on the SGX Nifty, above that 18,700 mark right now. But let's do one thing. Let's get to the big story as the stocks in the United States rallied on Friday with the Dow Jones surging 1%, the S&P gaining 1.5%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite closed with gains of over 2%. The Nasdaq Composite notched its fifth straight weekly gain, rising 2.5%. The S&P 500 advanced 0.3%, while the Dow was a laggard last week, losing 1%. Moving on to the big global market cue from the US, President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy reached a final agreement on Sunday on a deal to raise the nation's debt ceiling, averting a potential default. The president also urged both parties in Congress to come together for a swift passage of the deal. CNBC's Will Colleris gets us a snapshot of the contours of the deal and what President Joe Biden had to say.
Big news is the debt ceiling, of course. We'll just give you a little bit of a rundown of what some of the text is suggesting and what some of the comments are suggesting. So a 2-year debt limit increase in effect. So you're talking about January 2025. Roughly speaking, in terms of this FY24 non-military spending, that's basically flat. You're seeing a little bit of an increase in terms of the other expenses, roughly around about 3% for the military. IRS funding, that $10 billion that was supposed to go after enforcement has been cut, a clawing back of some of the unspent COVID funds, and that's what you're seeing there. And the work requirements, this is going to be a big deal when it does come to whether or not the left side progressives are going to vote in favour, but also if you're thinking about the right side, those fiscal conservatives, those hardline conservatives, whether this is going to be enough for them to vote for it as well. But here's a little bit of what President Biden had to say following the agreement, in a sense, with McCarthy. Listen in.
This is a deal is good news for, I believe, you'll see, for the American people. The agreement prevents the worst possible crisis, a default for the first time in our nation's history. An economic recession, retirement accounts devastated, millions of jobs lost. It also protects key priorities and accomplishments and values that congressional Democrats and I have fought long and hard for.
Okay, all right, that's the word coming in from US President Joe Biden, an important update as far as the US markets are concerned. Moving on to some important macro data from the United States now. The core personal consumption expenditure, the inflation gauge closely followed by the US Federal Reserve, rose 0.4% for the month and 4.7% on a year-on-year basis, indicating that inflation remains stubbornly high. Cleveland Fed President Loretta Mester spoke on the latest core PCE figures, the inflation trajectory, and what the Fed could possibly do in the June meeting. Listen in.
Inflation's still too high and it's stubborn, and the progress, we have made some progress. I mean, inflation is down from where it was last summer, but the progress has been slow and in fits and starts. And I think the PCE inflation report just underscored that. I mean, core inflation, core services ex housing, which is one of the indicators we've been watching, both the monthly increases and the year-over-year increases moved up, not down. Total PCE inflation also moved up. So again, you know, we have made progress. Inflation is down from where it was last summer, but it's very slow progress, and it's concerning. I think the economy, and I do think the economy has slowed quite a bit from where it was last year, and I continue to think that that's probably the right forecast, that we will see, you know, I was positive growth, but well below trend. I don't really think that I'm going to change my forecast on that, but again, we're going to see the data that comes in. But we need to have that slowing just so that we can get demand and supply in better balance, and that'll alleviate some of this inflation pressure. Well, I mean, everything's on the table in June. You know, we don't pre-commit to our meeting in advance. So I'm sure that's going to be part of the discussion, is what to do in June.
Hey, everything is on the table for June. It'll be an important meet as far as the Fed rate hike or rate pause or anything that can happen in the month of June. US Fed's outcome will be very important to watch. But time for a short break now. When we return, we'll tell you how these global market cues will affect our own market. Stay tuned for that.
What does your investment portfolio look like without gold? Incomplete. Because as a gold owner, you have the power to make bold decisions. To balance risks and returns. The power to buy and sell, right at your fingertips. Making gold your strategic advantage.
Without which, your portfolio is incomplete.
Power your portfolio with gold. World Gold Council.
Now is the time to participate in the growth of world-class companies in one of the fastest growing economies.
Beat volatility and make your money work for you 24/7 by investing in the best mutual fund schemes to meet your financial goals.
Multiply your money by profitable investing inside
From India's biggest mutual fund managers.
Bandhan Mutual Fund presents MF Corner at these times.
Presented by Bandhan Mutual Fund.
What if you could get your goods to the right place at the right time all the time? With IBM Consulting, AI-powered software can help automate your supply chain so products can be ordered, produced, and delivered more efficiently. What will you create? IBM. Let's create.
Yeah, Ajay, look at your dad. Will we be the same at his age?
Absolutely yes, if we plan our future like him.
How?
My father had invested in LIC's Jeevan Akshay, which gives immediate and guaranteed annuity at regular intervals, that too for life.
Wow. But do we have to wait until his age?
Absolutely not. We recently invested in LIC's new Jeevan Shanti, which gives deferred annuity, which means regular income after some years.
I see.
LIC's annuity plans give 10 annuity options and flexibility in receiving regular income. LIC, हर पल आपके साथ.
अभी और कितने चक्कर लगाने पड़ेंगे सर जी?
आप इतनी सी बात क्यों नहीं समझते सर जी? आप हमारा ध्यान रखो, हम आपका ध्यान रखेंगे. 9501 200 200 ये तो
एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन.
मैडम जी आप बेकार में परेशान हो रहे हो. मैं कराता हूँ ना 2 दिन में आपका काम. आप तो बस चढ़ा देना, घर बैठे आ जाएगा आपका लाइसेंस. आपको ड्राइविंग टेस्ट की भी जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी.
पक्का
जी पक्का.
तो आपने एक नंबर लिखिए, जब बन जाएगा तो उस पे कॉल करिएगा. 9501
9501
200 200.
2002
एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन।
अगर आपसे भी कोई रिश्वत मांगे तो कॉल करें 9501-200-200। एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन से पिछले 1 साल में अब तक 300 से ज्यादा भ्रष्टाचारी गिरफ्तार हो चुके हैं। पंजाब में रिश्वत लेने वालों की अब खैर नहीं।
पंजाब के लोगों को ये संदेश देना चाहता हूँ, पंजाब को भ्रष्टाचार मुक्त बनाना हमारा वादा ही नहीं, गारंटी है।
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. As promised, we have our entire research team joining in with what the trade setup looks like, the stocks that are likely to be in the news and the action from the F&O space as well. This is our Power Prep segment. Hey guys, a very good morning to all of you. Ekta, let me come across to you first up. What is the market setup looking like today?
Hi Sonal, thanks for that. Well, it's looking extremely positive because the White House and the Republicans reached a tentative deal to avoid a US default. Hence, we expect the momentum to probably continue today. Remember that the Nasdaq has notched 5th week of gains consecutively for the US markets. The markets back home closed at 5-month highs on Friday. The Nifty ended at almost 18,500, which is the highest closing level that we've seen in 2023. 43 stocks closed in the green: Reliance, ICICI and HUL were the top contributors. Remember, the FMCG index was also at a record high. FII's net bought around 350 odd crores. They have been on a continuous buying streak and they've added to their positions on Friday's trading session. DII's also net bought around 1841 odd crores. Asia, largely higher. Japanese markets are at the highest level that we've seen since 1990. SGX is indicating a positive start as well. Now, in terms of Brent crude, that ticked higher on hopes of a debt ceiling breakthrough. So it was at around $76 per barrel for Brent crude. Now, separately, additional to what we are talking about, the markets are now likely to focus on the Fed trajectory because we did have the US data, the core personal consumption price index, which rose 4.7% versus estimates of around 4.8%. So just marginally in line, you would say, but the market pricing swung to 56% in terms of a chance that the Fed will enact another 25 basis points rate hike in the month of June. Probably the end of the rate hike cycle, but nonetheless, that's probably what the market is going to focus on as well. Result reactions today back home: ONGC, BHEL, Aurobindo, Sun Pharma in terms of the conference call, Indigo Paints, Karnataka Bank, we have City Union Bank as well as PFC. And in terms of results today, the list is very long, but the likes of IPCA, IRCTC, Rail Vikas Nigam, NHPC, Adani Transmission, to name a few.
Fag end of the earnings season, but it doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. Ekta, thank you so much for those cues. Ekta spoke about certain stocks. Let's get in more from Surbhi, who is here with the stocks and news list. Surbhi.
Good morning. So a lot of results that have come over the weekend. Let's start with ONGC first. The numbers are below the CNBC TV18 poll. Revenues have come in at 36,290 odd crores, EBITDA at 16,340 crores, and margins at 45% versus the poll of 56%. BHEL, the revenues were up to 2%, the EBITDA was down 14%, margins have come in at 12% versus 14% same time last year. Aurobindo Pharma, the numbers are pretty much in line with estimates. The revenues are up 11%, the EBITDA is up 3%, and margins have come in at 15.5%. NCC, the revenues are up 42%, the EBITDA is up 72.5%, and the margins have come in at 9.4% versus 7.8%. Krishna Diagnostics, the revenues up 23% and the margins have come in at 26%. Apart from that, Dalmia Bharat will also be in focus as the company's Northeast arm approves a capex worth 3,642 crores. And lastly, ICICI Lombard will also be in focus as ICICI Bank approves increase in stake in the company up to 4% in multiple tranches.
Thank you, Surbhi, for that list. A lot of stocks in focus, but let's talk about the F&O space as well. Nigel is joining in with all those cues. Hey, Nigel, morning.
Well, morning. What a good close we had to the session, right, on Friday. So it was a good start to the news series and a good close to the week as well. The Nifty as well as the Nifty Bank, both of them did pretty well. The Nifty, there appears there was long interest built up out there. While on the Nifty Bank, it appears there were some signs of short covering as well because the open interest didn't surge up. despite the Nifty Bank closing high with a gain of around 0.8%. What did the FIs do? They added long, so they continue to remain net long on the index now. On the option side, they bought both calls as well as puts. But what's positive yet again is that they're writing more puts than calls. And even in Friday's trading session, they wrote close to around 2.5 lakh puts. Now, that takes the PCR to around 1.37. This is at the upper end of the band, so just keep an eye out on that mark. On the options data side, well, the 18,400 put, 18,500 put, between them, there was more than 1 crore shares added. So there was writing being seen at those levels. Just plugging in the numbers going by the premium, the crucial support zone for the Nifty becomes 18,350 to around 18,400. You need to stay long on this market. But I'll tell you what, if the SGX Nifty is suggesting 150, 160 point gap up, you may want to take some money off the table on the index itself on this sort of a gap up, because the debt ceiling deal, it's still not a done deal. You have probable more rate hikes, at least one more rate hike could be coming in from the Fed, and the PCR has moved to the upper end of the band. So taking some money off the table could be a prudent strategy. Back to you.
Okay, all right. Yes, as the Fed governor of one of the cities said, everything is on the table as far as June Fed meeting is concerned. Thank you, Nigel, for that, and all the guys for joining us and prepping us up for this trading day ahead. We'll slip into a short break. Up next, we'll get you the cues from the commodities market. Stay tuned for that.
I'm a chameleon. It's my job to change color. But your wealth manager? Well, they shouldn't be copying me, you know. You know that. Choose Nuvama. We only do what's right for you and your money. Nuvama. Let's do it right.
This car's electric for more reasons than just being woke.
Oh, yeah.
And man, the money it saves you is no joke. It's got enough range to get you anywhere!
And it's the go-to park when you get there.
The all-new MG Comet EV, the no-nonsense car.
Because just like us, this car cuts the crap, man.
नई कार तुमने कार इंश्योरेंस खरीदा होगा आगो ऐप से नहीं आगो नहीं तो कोई बात नहीं मूर्ति गलतियां होती रहती हैं कोई जरूरत नहीं है चेक करने नहीं
नई कार खरीदने से पहले आको चेक करें और 36,000 तक बचाएं।
What if you could make analyzing a big bank's data no big deal?
Go on.
Well, what if you partner with IBM and Red Hat, use a hybrid cloud solution to connect data across multiple systems globally, then analyze all that data with Watson?
Okay, but this needs to meet our...
Security standards? Yep.
Compliance standards?
Mm-hmm.
So they get the insights they need.
Yep.
In real time.
Check.
To make quick decisions.
Check.
And check.
That's the hybrid cloud solution IBM and a global bank created. What will you create? IBM. Let's create.
I always go for it. आप भी जरूर try कीजिए. Toodles, guys. Good recommendations are helpful, ना? They surely help me while investing with Angel One. आखिर influencers को भी तो जरूरत है smart recommendations की.
Investments in securities markets are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV18. Let's quickly take a look at what's happening in the commodities market and Brent crude prices after the US debt ceiling and the agreements or the negotiations around that did take a final deal. And that's the reason there was a lot of optimism, not only in the equity markets, but even in the commodity markets. Brent price is above that $77 per barrel mark, and it is higher, 0.9% there, so 1% higher on the crude oil prices, and that is something that we are seeing across the commodity space as well. We'll have to see whether this continues or not, but for now, it's looking good for crude oil prices as well. Moving on, after that, now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Sunday inaugurated the new Parliament building in New Delhi, marking the occasion by installing a Sengol in the new Lok Sabha chamber. The Congress and 19 other opposition parties boycotted the ceremony, accusing the government of overlooking the constitution, saying that President Draupadi Murmu should have inaugurated the new Parliament complex. The new Lok Sabha chamber can seat up to 888 members, while the Rajya Sabha can seat 300. In case of a joint sitting, the new building can accommodate up to 1,280 members of the parliament at a time. From this news, let's move on to some other news as well. Olympic medalists Sakshi Malik and Bajrang Punia were two amongst the 700 people detained by the Delhi police after they booked the organizers of a wrestlers' protest in Delhi on charges of rioting. The protesters have stepped up demands for the arrest of Federation chief over alleged sexual harassment. On Sunday, the police tried to stop them from marching to the new parliament building as it was being inaugurated. The wrestlers have also been told that they will not be allowed to return to the Jantar Mantar protest site as well. Okay, let's talk about some news from the world of sports. For the first time in the history of the Indian Premier League, the tournament final has been pushed to the reserve day after heavy rains washed out the proceedings on Sunday. The clash between defending champions Gujarat Titans and Chennai Super Kings will take place today. If the match gets washed out today as well, then Gujarat Titans will be crowned champions by virtue of topping the table in the league phase. However, cricket fans everywhere will be hoping for ideal weather and a thrilling final as well. Okay, let's get in some important international updates now. Turkey's longtime president Tayyip Erdogan sealed victory in the first ever presidential runoff in the country's history on Sunday. The incumbent president got 52% of the votes, while the opposition settled with a vote of tally of 48%. Reports of celebrations were reported from across the country and even abroad as Erdogan entered his third decade in power. All right, a lot of stories that we are getting from the international markets and, of course, from our own markets as well. Let's quickly take a look at what the Asian markets are doing right now. Mostly higher in trade as we were looking at them earlier. Hang Seng has recovered fair bit from the lows as well. It's up 40 points as we speak. When we started the show, it was down around 20 points, so 60-point recovery from the lows. The SGX Nifty is again indicating a start in the green, a gap-up opening, so to say, after that stellar move that we saw in Friday's trading session as well. So let's see which way things go today. Looking like a good start for our own markets. We'll take your leave on this edition of Power Breakfast. Stay tuned. Bazaar Morning Call comes up next.